My name is Nate, if we haven't met, and along with our incredible team, we just want to welcome you. And I say this every Sunday because I don't ever want us to lose perspective. I love the fact that we are not just one church meeting in this building, but because of our online campus, Pastor Ridge and his team, we are meeting in homes right now, all over the world. So let's welcome in LifePoint Online. We love you. Yeah, so grateful for you. And I'm excited, y'all. I have not preached in 2 weeks. I'm like spiritually backed up. So you better, look, if you invited a friend and they finally said yes for the first time, just go ahead and apologize. Be like, he's typically hyper, but this might be a whole new level. But I'm really excited to continue in this series that we started 2 weeks ago called Good News. And man, did Pastor Chris and Ridge not do a phenomenal job these last 2 weeks, man? I love them, love their heart, their perspective, their passion. I love the teaching team that we truly have here at LifePoint. So my goal today is I want to compliment really the foundation that they've laid in this series based on the Gospel of Luke called Good News. And we got a couple more weeks that's going to lead us up to Easter. So here's what I want to do today. I want to start off our time together, part 3, with a question. And this question is really going to serve as the subject of my message today. So if you like to take notes, if you're a note taker, here's the question I want to leap off with today. You ready? Does Christianity work? Like, does following Jesus actually improve the quality of my life? Like, does Christianity actually work? I wish you could see some of your faces right now. Like, y'all, you look confused. You're like, bro, I don't know if you realize this or not, but we're in church. You're not supposed to ask those kind of questions in church. And not to mention, you're the pastor. You're supposed to tell us if this thing works or not. But I think this is a really great question. Like, does following Jesus actually improve the quality of my life? Does it work? Like, I understand that it works from a salvation standpoint. I get it. Like, God saved me. He rescued me from my sin. Okay, Nate, I've been a part of the first 2 weeks of the series. I got it now. The word gospel literally means good news of Jesus Christ. But does it actually work in my day-to-day? And if it does work, why does it seem like it's not working for me? I'm not playing around today. Y'all think I'm playing. Like, I am preaching what you're thinking. So if you have ever wondered, what's the value in this? And does following Jesus actually make a difference in my life? Today's for you. So with that, let's go to Luke chapter 6 today. If you got a Bible, let's grab it. Let's go to Luke chapter 6 today. Did you bring your Bibles? Anybody got their Bible? Rev it in the air like you just do care. It lights up, it counts. All right, I see you. If you forgot your Bible, no worries. We're going to put it up on the jumbo Bible behind me here. And Luke is one of my favorite Gospels. I think it's important to understand a little bit about the author behind this series. One of the reasons why I love Luke, his account of the life of Jesus, is because Luke wrote with the skeptic in mind. Matter of fact, Luke, very interesting, dedicated his gospel to one man, a man by the name of Theophilus. Luke chapter 1, verse 1. And we don't know, it's interesting, we don't know much about Theo. All we know is that, why did I give him a nickname? I have no idea. All that we know is he was a friend of Luke's, and he was a Greek, which means it's a New Testament word used to describe outsiders, non-believers, non-Jewish. So Theophilus represents everybody who is searching, who is unfulfilled, who wonders, is there really more to this life than just what I'm experiencing? And the reason why I'm giving you this detail is because Luke was not one of Jesus's original 12 disciples. Did you know that? Matter of fact, Luke, we would know from history, was a doctor by trade. He was a physician. And it wasn't until after Jesus's death, burial, and resurrection that Luke, under Theophilus' pay, goes on an investigative tour interviewing eyewitnesses who watched and saw Jesus perform these miracles to determine whether or not this dude actually resurrected from the grave. And upon Luke's investigation, he concluded for himself that this Jesus truly was who he said he was, and he did what he said he did. So much so that Luke quits the medical profession and the nice paying job that probably provided him and his family. And he became one of the first leaders in the early church and wrote the largest New Testament book called the Book of Acts. Now, why does all this matter? Because if you've got a little skeptical in you, like I do, a little skepticism, then Luke's your book. And so we're going to pick up in Luke chapter 6, starting in verse 27. This is commonly referred to as the Sermon on the Mount, or as Luke says, the Sermon on the Plain. But this is Jesus' most epic sermon he ever preached, because this is his inaugural, first recorded message, him sort of declaring what his ministry is going to be all about. See, up until this point, Jesus has just performed miracles and signs and wonders. And naturally, if somebody raises your neighbor, who is paralyzed and they can walk, you're like, I want to find more out about this guy. And so he's got this huge crowd, and they come to the side of a mountain, which would have given it like an amphitheater effect, which is an important detail and understand how so many people could have heard. And he begins to step up onto this scene and basically give us a brand new value system that is getting ready to invade the way that they related to God, related to people, their perspective and the way that they saw life. Jesus is taking what they've known for so many years and turning it upside down on his head as he introduces this idea called the kingdom of God. And so with that, we're gonna go to Luke chapter 6 today. If you're ready, shout, I'm ready. Let's go online, be busy in the chat right there. Luke chapter 6, starting in verse 27. I wanna read this to you as if you were the original Jewish audience on the side of the mountain wondering what this Jesus is all about. Here's how it would have sounded. Jesus says, but to you who are listening, I say. So if you're listening today, if you're watching online, driving down the highway, on the podcast, this is for us. He says, love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you and pray for those who mistreat you. I'm sorry, Jesus, did you just tell me to? And if someone slaps you on the cheek, turn to them the other one also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. I'm sorry, why are people slapping me and why am I losing my clothes? Give to everybody who asks. And if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Are you suggesting that if you, he goes on, love those who love you, and what credit is that to you? Even sinners love them. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those who you know are gonna expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners expecting to be paid in full. Yeah, but Jesus, you've never met my family. My family's crazy, okay? You clearly haven't met my ex-wife. Are you suggesting, but love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back in return, then your reward will be great and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful just as your heavenly Father is merciful. Okay, time out. I just got slapped in the face. People are taking my clothes. I'm loving my enemies, borrowing money, not getting anything back. And you mean to tell me my reward, it's not even earthly, it's heavenly? And Jesus would answer that by saying, verse 37, do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and it will be forgiven to you. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, runneth over. This is good preaching. Will be poured into your lap, for with the measure you use it, it will be measured to you. Any questions? Okay, all right. Let's deal with this for a second. I don't know where you grew up. I don't know what hood you came from, but where I come from, that's crazy talk right there. This church is so much more than just pray some prayer, walk down the aisle at church camp, go get baptized to get the t-shirt. Like, this is what it would be like to have perfect faith on the best day of following Jesus. Like, who does this? It's almost as if Jesus, his inaugural the kingdom of heaven is here message. It's almost like he stood on the side of the mountain that day and he said, well guys, I have good news and I have bad news. What do you want to hear first? That's really what this is. Matter of fact, I wonder for you, I'm sure you've had people in your life frame questions that way. I got good news and bad news. What do you want first? We all know that whenever somebody frames a question like that, there really isn't good news, only bad. They're just trying to soften the blow for what's about to come next. So I'm really curious, and online I want you to participate as well, all right? Type this in the chat. How many of you, when that question is presented to you, you are give me the good news first, people? Come on, good news, good news. Wow, this is, the 9 a.m. service, I promise you, that was the most depressed group. That's not them. Anybody else? Good news people first? Okay, a few of you. This is me. I'm a good news person. Just give me the good. My thinking and my positivity is that if the news is really good, then maybe it will be gooder than the bad. Yes. Right? I know gooder is not a word, okay? But we love you, you optimistic people. Man, we salute your commitment to see life as positive as possible. Sure, you're a little disillusioned, but we love you. This is me. All right, how many of you are bad news first people? Come on, give me the bad. Yeah, y'all keep me employed. This is great. Just keep being jacked up. This is awesome. I love this because y'all are like, listen, you're factual. Like, just give me what it is that needs to be said. You're analytical. You are facts first, emotions second kind of people. And there's even a pocket of you that are bad news first people that if you find out that there is bad news, not only do you want to hear it first, you don't even care about the good news. Just tell me how much I owe, who did my kid punch, what's the diagnosis, all right? Like, what's this gonna cost me? I mean, don't beat around the bush, don't sugarcoat it. In the words of the great theologian John Mayer, just say what you need to say. Okay, we got some bad news, people. Yeah, I feel you. I'll never forget the time that this stands out to me the most, and this question, of course, has been presented to me a lot like you, but the most terrifying was 4 years ago on this past Thursday. We'll mark 4 years when this question was presented to my wife and I. Now, if you follow my family, you know a little bit of our story. We adopted our youngest daughter, Evie, and up until 4 years ago, we were on the waiting list, waiting to be placed with a birth mother. If you're familiar with adoption, that might make a little bit of sense. And we finally got the call. We got the call, and it was our caseworker. She said, hey, I'm so excited. There's a birth mother who has selected you to parent her child. It's a girl due in June. And that for like an adopted waiting family is just like the best news. And then you're like, oh my God, this is great. About 2 weeks go by. It's Saturday morning, March 17th, 9 a.m. in the morning. The phone rings, and it's the caseworker. And this is not good, right? When your caseworker calls you on a Saturday at 9 a.m., we pick up the phone, and she said it. She says, well, Nate, Emily, I have good news and I have bad news. What do you want to hear first? Now, Emily and I, we're both optimistic, good news people. First, if you've ever done Strength Finders, we're both like 85% on the positivity index report. Our house is a vomit of positivity. That's what that means. That's not good. We live in like Peter Pan fairyland, okay? We just don't live in reality. So it's true. We're like, well, give us the good news. She said, well, the baby was born. It's a little girl. And we said, wow. Okay, well, what's the bad news? She said, well, the bad news is that she was born 12 weeks early, premature, and she weighs 2 pounds, 8 ounces. And more than likely, she's gonna need to spend the next 10 weeks in the NICU in Charleston. So of course, we hang up the phone, and later that afternoon, we get in the car, we drive down to MUSC in Charleston. We meet the birth mom for the first time. We go up to the NICU floor. Matter of fact, this is a picture of the first time that I ever met my daughter, Evie. And yeah, for the next 10 weeks, we watched this little queen fight for her life. And by the amazing grace of God and the medical professional team, last Thursday, y'all, she celebrated her 4th birthday. Come on, she got some wheels. Y'all better watch out for her, Mill. She's driving now. But it all started with a question. I've got good news and I've got bad news. And I feel like today this is the framework of the Sermon on the Mount. It's like Jesus looking at us today. Does Christianity work? What's the value? Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. LifePoint, let me ask you, which one do you want to hear first? No, really, which one do you want to hear? Okay, y'all are bad news people, so I'm just going to Perry and I are going to give the good news first. You ready? If you take notes, here's the good news. Jesus is saying, the kingdom of heaven has come. The old way of relating to God is done. The old system of religion that was for one ethnic group in a period of time that was about your behavior and your performance, on the resurrection day, a new covenant will be established that will be based on grace for all people, not on what you do, but on what Christ has already done for you. The kingdom of heaven is here. But I got bad news for those of you that clapped. It's not really bad, but it might sound bad. You ready? It will challenge everything that you value. It will challenge everything that you value. Let me kind of unpack it like this. Jesus did not come just to seek and save the lost, but he came to seek and save the life that was lost. Are you with me? If you don't get that, you're gonna miss the essence of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus did not come just to seek and save the lost, but to save the life that was lost. Pastor Nate, what do you mean? Well, if you go all the way back to the book of Genesis, which just simply means beginning, we get a picture, an image of how life was always meant to be experienced and lived by the way God interacted with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. It's this beautiful picture of how life was always supposed to be. God and Adam and Eve, they're walking with the Lord, and there's harmony, and there's relationship, and there's love, and there's work, and there's fulfillment and satisfaction and accomplishment. There's a human relationship between Adam and Eve. There's no sin in the world. This is how life was always meant to be lived. But if you know the story, Adam and Eve would make a choice. And that choice was to step outside of God's perfect plan for life. And by the way, it's always a choice. It's called free will. You cannot have love without the ability to choose. And so Adam and Eve weren't even supposed to even understand the knowledge of good and evil. They had no paradigm for evil. But in that moment, they took the apple from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and their eyes were opened to things they were never intended to experience. And in that moment of disobedience, that perfect harmony was fractured. Sin entered into the world as we know it, completely distorting the life that God always intended for us to live. So in that moment in the beginning Genesis, more than just the Garden of Eden was taken away from Adam and Eve, but life as they knew it was gone. And so the beauty of the Bible is the rest of the Bible is this beautiful love story, all about God redeeming humanity back to how life was always meant to be lived. But you'll never experience this life if all you do is just reduce it down to praying some prayer and salvation. It is more than the full life that Jesus has come to offer you. It is about you adopting the value system. Does that make sense? Yeah. Let me say it like this. You can't live the kingdom life without living the kingdom way. Yeah, you can't live and experience the kingdom life without adopting the value system to live the kingdom way. And everything about Jesus is going to challenge what you value. And I was thinking about this. Getting ready for today, and I realized, all of us have a value system. I mean, we all do. We all operate off of a core set of values that influence and determine our behavior. This is, to me, is a great equalizer today. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, love Jesus, you're searching, it doesn't really matter. All of us operate and behave off of a set of values. You've never thought about it, but we do. Here's what a value system is. It's said like this. It's a set of beliefs and attitudes that produce behavior. That's a value system. In other words, it acknowledges that nobody just does anything, but all behavior is influenced by something, by a value system. I'll prove it to you. Chick-fil-A. Come on, this is why in the South we love us some Chick-fil-A. How many of y'all love some Christian chicken in the house? Let's go. Look, I don't know what country you're watching from, but get you a Chick-fil-A franchise. It's amazing. This has nothing to do with my message, but I'm really curious. How many of you are pickles on the sandwich, people? Pickles, extra. Praise God for you. You are the holy, righteous ones. How many of you are no pickles? Come on, no pickles. Yeah, we have a special tent outside. It's called the smack you on the cheek tent, all right? Like, we're gonna work on this. I love Chick-fil-A. We all love Chick-fil-A. Most of us do. I know this is Sunday, and you're like, bro, why bring this up? They're closed. I get it. But it's a value system, because what we love about Chick-fil-A is we love their customer service. We love their hospitality. They have figured out in this pandemic with their restaurant closed to still keep that Chick-fil-A hospitality. Yeah, their food is consistent, it tastes great, and I don't know how they do it, but they are able to get a 15-year-old to look at you and say, it's my pleasure. There it is. Now, do you think that they just showed up one day and just started behaving like that? No. That behavior comes from some sort of value system, because I can guarantee it, even though I don't have a teenager in my house, that same 15-year-old, when they take the Chick-fil-A visor off and they come back into your house, they don't look at you, mom and dad, when you tell them to take out the trash, and their response is not, yes, ma'am, it's my pleasure. Am I right? You would be like, who are you? No, that all of us, we all behave and think and have attitudes based off of a deeper value system. And I'm telling you this because I want you to see the magnitude of what new value system Jesus is introducing. It was what it was always meant to be, but because of the distortion of sin, it seems so foreign to them. So I want to show you again just a couple different snippets out of Matthew's account of this. Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. Again, same experience, just a different viewpoint. Matthew records Jesus saying this in verse 21. So this is Jesus. Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said," in other words, old value system, "that people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you," new value system, "that anyone who is angry with his brother or sister will be subject to judgment. You have heard that it was said," that's the old way, "you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you, anyone that looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Okay, Jesus. "You have heard that it was said," he is not done, that's the old way, "eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person." This is the new way. "If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek." I don't know why there's a lot of slapping on cheeks in the Bible. It's got to be like a Jewish cultural thing. Come back, I'll find out the answer. Verse 43, "But you have heard that it was said." At this point, the crowd's got to be going, "Oh no." Every time he starts a sentence off with that, the bar just goes higher. "Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." What? Like, in other words, Jesus is saying, look, the old value system, it is external. It is all about how you look on the outside. So look, it's cool. You can hate your brother or sister. You can cancel people on the inside as long as you don't physically harm them on the outside. Go ahead, be a womanizer. Look and scroll on Instagram. Look at whatever you want to look at. It just as long as you don't actually act out on the thoughts that you're thinking. And Jesus comes in to completely disrupt this. And he's with every "you have heard that it was said" statement, he's challenging what they valued. And maybe the reason why Christianity is so frustrating to you, are you ready? I wonder if it's because we want change, but we don't want to be challenged. Oh, y'all gonna be quiet today, aren't you? It's gonna be one of them days. Yeah, you just got, It's like, I want change. I don't really know if I want the challenge that's gonna produce the change. I mean, I wanna have the HBSB, hot by spring break body. I just don't know if I want to go through the challenge that's going to produce the change. I mean, I want to have a healthy marriage and I want to honor God in my singleness. I don't want to be addicted to anything. I want to live for Jesus and I want the most of what he wants for me in my life. But man, what do we do in our lives when the challenge seems so big and the change seems so far away? It's those moments where the challenge is so big and the change is so far out of your grips that we often settle right where we're at. Can I tell you something? I feel like this is really what the Lord wanted me to share. Salvation is easy. It'll cost you nothing. But living for Jesus is hard and it will cost you everything. If following Jesus, living for him, the kingdom values in your life were easy, he never would have had to say, "Take up your cross daily and follow me." You know what that means? It means every day I gotta die to myself. Every day in my marriage, every day in my singleness, every day in my parenting, I gotta die to my needs, my wants, I'm submitting everything to the will of what God your word is truth. Everything else I'm going to submit in line with your truth. This is every day. Salvation is easy, but following Jesus is hard and it will cost you everything. And I don't want you to miss this, okay? You are saved by grace through faith. That salvation has nothing to do with what you've done. It has everything to do with what Christ has already done for you. But actually living the kingdom way, following Jesus, is gonna cost you everything. And here's what I've learned in my personal life, that salvation without surrender will leave you frustrated. Can I preach? Salvation without surrender is the greatest recipe for frustration. Why am I so frustrated? Why isn't this thing working like my grandma said it would? Why is my faith doesn't seem real? How come I'm frustrated with my own actions and the things that I've been doing? Could it be that you've received the free gift of grace, but you have yet to surrender your plans and your will and your desire to God? So you're trying to live for Jesus, but you're doing it your way. Oh, I'm coming to your house here. It's like you want God to give you peace, but you won't change your plans. You want God to give you priorities, but you're not even willing to change anything to get that. And so I wonder how many of us create this, list to God, and it's like, here's my desires, and here's my dreams, and here's my will, and if it feels good, it must be good. Here's the new one in our culture: live your truth. So who are you to tell me what truth is? I'm just going to live my truth, and then we go to God and say, "God, can you sign off on that?" God's like, I can't bless what I didn't build.
Come on.
I didn't create that. You did. I'm not no genie in a bottle rubbing the right. You don't got 3 wishes. I am the God over the heavens and the earth, the universe, who has saved you, who has died for you. My ways are, do you actually believe me? I'm trying to give you life. And you're just settling for salvation?
Right.
Man, I wonder today, maybe, okay, Jesus, maybe the reason why I'm frustrated is because it's tied to an area where I'm not surrendered. But I get it, right? You're like, come on, man, like, who does this though? Like, really, who does this? I mean, turn the other cheek. Like, you know, pray for my enemies. I don't even pray for my friends, okay? Like, and you want me, you don't even want me, you want me to pray for the people who have intentionally wronged me? You want me just to keep lending money and stuff to people who I know are not gonna like repay me back? Like, who does this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Luke chapter 7, verse 1. When Jesus had finished saying all of this, so he just got done with the Sermon on the Mount, he walks off of the mountain. The next town is what's called Capernaum. He says, after he'd finished all this, who were listening, he entered Capernaum. And there was a centurion's servant. Underline that, highlight that, write it on your arm. There was a centurion's servant whom his master valued highly. And this servant was sick and about to die. And the centurion heard of Jesus and sent some of the elders of the Jews to him, asking him to come and heal his servant. So I want to just set the backdrop here, because this is really where the rubber meets the road. Jesus has just got done preaching about this brand new value system, the way that life was always intended to be lived. Comes off the mountain, goes to Capernaum, and here comes a centurion. And the centurion's servant is sick, and now he needs a favor. Now, the reason why you didn't gasp when I read that, I think it's because the history line has been removed too long. But when this would have taken place in real time, the tension would have been high. If I had time, I would take you back 100 years before this event happened, when the Roman general Pompey, this is secular history, when General Roman Pompey went into Israel, into Jerusalem, destroyed the temple. But he didn't go back to Rome empty-handed, but instead he enslaved over 1,000 Jews. Once again, Israel had lost its independence. So now Israel was basically annexed into Rome. So 100 years now, when Jesus is meeting this centurion face to face, the governor of all of Israel, of Rome, was a guy by the name of Pontius Pilate. Sound familiar? And Pontius Pilate was really credited for the one introducing to Israel the Roman torture device called crucifixion, the device that ultimately would take the life of Jesus. And Pontius Pilate was wicked and cruel. Matter of fact, he was so evil that he was actually recalled back to Rome because he murdered so many Jews for no reason until he finally took his life. Now, why does this matter? I'm telling you this because the tension between the Israelites and the Romans was at an all-time high. They hated each other. Not like you unfriended me on Facebook hate. Not like that. Not like yo mama. No, yo mama. Not like my boss fired me, I hate him. I'm talking like systemic, generational, growing up being told you hate these Romans because they oppress us, they dominate us. This kind of hatred. And then to make this worse, it's a centurion. This was a Roman official who was over 100 different Roman soldiers. The only way that you move up in the ranks in the Roman army is by being brutal, by taking commands from the upper chain and executing them with no questions asked. And here he comes face to face. This guy represented everything Jesus had the right to hate, ethically, morally, nationally, and now this mug needs a favor? Have you been there? Not like maybe that extreme, but have you ever seen somebody and you just got too much history with? It's like you accidentally turn down the same grocery aisle as they do, and you look up and they look up and but you made eye contact. Yeah, these are people in your life who have wronged you, who have misused your trust, but now are asking for your trust back. Maybe family members who have borrowed money from you, but have yet to repay it, and now they're asking for another loan. This is a marriage where your spouse says, I'll never do that again, but you've recently found out that they did that again. Yeah, we just got too much history. Isn't it interesting that like we are more likely to be generous and forgiving and patient with complete strangers than we are the people in our own lives. That's why Jesus would say, like he did just a minute ago, what good is that? Even sinners do that. Now we got too much history. I mean, what's Jesus gonna do? I mean, think about this. He is truly stuck, the old phrase goes, between a rock and a hard place. I mean, this is the epitome of you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I mean, think about this. He has just preached this sermon. Thousands of people are following him. Matthew would say that the crowd was amazed at his teachings. And so he's got the patriotism and he's got the momentum wave of the crowd. He comes face to face with a centurion, and what's he going to do? Because on one hand, if he helps the centurion by healing his servant, he's gonna lose the patriotism and the dedication of the crowd. But if he doesn't heal the centurion servant, then everything he just taught about the value system of the kingdom of heaven means absolutely nothing. This is the original WWJD. What will Jesus do? Let's find out. I'm gonna pick up mid-verse 7. This is the centurion talking, but say the word, Jesus, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, my soldiers under me. I tell this one to go and that one goes, this one to come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. And when Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him. And he turned to the crowd following him. So he looks at his crew, his patriots, and he says, I tell you, I have not found such greater faith, even in all of Israel. Then the men who had been sent returned to the house, and they found the servant well. And sure enough, there were a few people who were happy and a lot of people who were disgusted. Some people rejoiced and a lot of people were angry. A few people stayed and most of the crowd left. But I want you to see what Jesus is showing us today, that if we're gonna adopt this value system, the essence of the Sermon on the Mount, are you ready? Here it is. Don't give people what they gave you. Give people what Jesus gave you. Don't resist the urge to give people what they gave you, but instead give people what Jesus gave you. And do I need to remind you that you and I, when we weren't worthy, God still loved us. He gave us grace. He made a way when there was no way. When you said you wouldn't do it again, God gave you a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance. And he doesn't just save you, but he adopts you into his family, where you have sonship as a daughter and the son of the Most High King, that you are royalty, you are righteous, you are ahead, not beneath, above, not below, that you got the fullness of the living God inside of you. Come on, somebody give God praise. If you know that God doesn't give you what you deserve, he gave you what Jesus deserved. Come on, praise him like you know it, like you didn't earn it, but you're grateful for it. Whew. So next time you see a centurion that you got a lot of history with, stop giving them what they gave you and give them what Jesus gave you. That's how the gospel becomes so good. But back to my original question. Does Christianity work? Are you ready? I'm gonna give it to you, it's real practical. Christianity works at the level of your surrender and your obedience. Yes. Does it work? Oh, church, I'm here today to tell you it works. Following Jesus has absolutely changed my life, not like my behavior. I'm on a good 10-year streak, like my vow, like who I, the nature, the fabric of who I am, but it only works at the level of your surrender and your obedience. Matter of fact, I'm willing to guess today that the greatest area of your frustration is directly connected to the area where you are most least surrendered. That could it be that you're here today, maybe for this reason, that God is trying to get you to wave the white flag, where you've just been trying to do it on your own and you're wondering why this isn't working, to finally say, Lord, I'm done, I'm giving it up. I'm not just gonna embrace salvation, I want the kingdom values. I want you to absolutely transform me. God, I want you to shake up the ground of my religion, shake up the ground of my thinking, shake up all of my perspective, because your way is better. It's better, Life Point. He's better, because better is not a direction, better is a person, and his name is Jesus. And when I surrender, I'm not giving up anything, I'm gaining everything. Come on, do you believe that today? Man, didn't we just sing that earlier? Come on, Lord, I want you to sing that over us today. Come on, sing this. Come on, give God permission to shake this up right here. This is a bold prayer right here. Come on. Yeah. Come on, why don't you stand to your feet and give God worship right here? Let this be our anthem. I'm telling you, it works. A marriage that's submitted to God works. Sex that is submitted to God's plan is beautiful. Your value system that's submitted to God, it works. Come on. Let's go, let's sing this.